Hello, welcome to Claret and Blue. My name is Dan Rowance and we're back here at Hockley Social Club with James Rushton and John Townley. Lads, how are we?
Good. Very good.
Well, thank you.
Good stuff. Today's show is Aston Villa Confessions. Now, we've had people sending their anonymous confessions about all things Aston Villa. Some are football related, some are a fan-going experience things. There's some great stuff in here. I've got 25 in front of me and I'm not sure we'll get through them all today. This is one of those things that we feel like if people enjoy watching it and think this is a good show, we can certainly do part 2, part 3. We had about 100 sent to us over the course of a couple of weeks, so I've tried to narrow it down to what I think are some of the good ones. First one, the Villa Park atmosphere has never been that good. It's alright at times, but when we talk of recaptivating it and new fans ruining it, reality is it's never been the most impressive.
Just a theory. Maybe it's different generations of fans. I don't know. Us being... I mean, for the last 3 years we've been mid-table, haven't we, really? Maybe some fans can't really get up for that too much. I don't know. Whereas Brentford fans, for argument's sake, are just buzzing to be in the Premier League and every game feels like sort of...
like the novelty of it.
Yeah. I don't know, just a theory. I mean, when we were in the Championship, I think it was really good because we were going something and it was like a big buy-in and everyone knew that this was really important, as it was in the final games of last season. So I think if there's something to play for that really means something, I think then you're going to get a brilliant Villa Park and it really can be that good.
Yeah.
So
and it will be better.
I don't want to knock it. I don't think it's worth knocking because ultimately, if we're playing Burnley last season, at the end of the season, I think we drew 1-1. The atmosphere isn't going to be, 10 out of 10, but it will be for Brighton when we're going to qualify for Europe. So I don't think it's worth knocking.
Yeah, I think if you're expecting it to be like an old school attitude of it, the atmosphere must be organically generated by on-pitch performance. Under Emery, it's going to happen more often than not. But you're still relying on factors out of the fans' control to get up, whereas you've probably got to, if you want the atmosphere to be good, you've got to put it into your control. All the club has to do enhance that somehow. But I'm not sure that if you're in old school and you're looking to be organically generated, then simply waiting on players to do good things and get you on your feet, it's not going to happen that often, is it?
Well, we're on the topic of Villa Park then. These are in a set order, but I'm happy to jump over anywhere. Villa should leave Aston and build a new stadium with modern facilities. Hold on, James. With modern facilities in a part of Birmingham that isn't a nightmare to get in and out of. Now, the last bit, Birmingham being a nightmare to get in and out of, and Villa Park being a nightmare to get in and out of, with the transport, the parking, the trains, bad. Yes, agree. Leaving Villa Park is a big no for me. I know, John, that we've done a Q&A as well, where this was something we talked about as well in a previous video. I just can't get on board with it. This kind of like, it comes to the same thing of like sponsoring Villa Park, like the Adidas Villa Park Stadium or whatever, and 5 million a year and you change the names. Like, it's just something about it doesn't sit right with me. I know that's not the question. Leaving Villa Park altogether and building a new stadium that might be a Claret and Blue bowl shape, like, no. I just can't buy into that at all.
Yeah, it's part of that, I think. Sorry to interrupt in the first place. But the idea of us, I think the idea has been floated on Twitter by fans to move to like a campus on the NEC.
This wasn't the only person that said that.
I know. I get their point. There is valid, extremely valid accessibility issues, and not just for able-bodied fans. Fans with disabilities, like it knackers me to get to Villa. I'm a 10k step wizard. I may not look it, but I am a 10k step wizard. And like getting to Villa Park is an ordeal.
In the sliding doors moments video that we did, if Villa aren't playing well and going to watch the games is a bit of a slog, if you can't even get to the game properly or you're stuck on a train and you can't get out of the stadium very well, like, it makes the whole experience annoying.
Probably impacts the atmosphere to an extent as well, if it takes so much time and so much money as well to get there.
People leave early to get transport back and things like that.
Exactly. It's not just getting there, it's getting back. You can take some people out, plus an hour, and again more money to get back home, and it just feels like a bit of a slog, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, like, and a lot has been made, and there's been a lot of like moaning at the council, which I'm like with, about sorting Witten Stadium out, but that's not the be all and end all. The club can, the bike shed's like 6 bikes wide, and there is a cycle path from town to Perry Bar, through Perry Bar, which is the worst bit of it is the last 5 minutes, rather than the whole journey. There's got to be park and ride shuttle things you can do. It can't just be the train's crap or the car parking's crap. There's got to be options here that can be exploited, because I can't see that it's been done.
Yeah.
There's one bus and I think it goes to Tamworth, maybe stops in a few places, but
Would you leave Villa Park?
I would leave Villa Park if it was in the local vicinity, which is impossible. So it would have to be Aston, Lascelles, Perry Bar. That's your area.
I wouldn't leave Villa Park, full stop.
No, I wouldn't, unless it was like... Because if you leave that area...
If they knocked down Villa Park where it was now and made the area bigger and rebuilt it in the same spot, I wouldn't even do that.
I don't think there's much.
That would hurt. No, that would hurt. But I think the Villa Park you've got is essentially that. Like, it has been rebuilt so many times. It's like the ship of Theseus. Like, it existed, but it's been rebuilt so many times. Is it actually the same thing?
I think for the whole... Because James is totally right. If you're going to do anything, you have to stay at least in the area. But the area is the same.
The area is the problem.
Similar, kind of, yeah. And you're going to... For everything that you're going to do to it, I don't know. I just think... Yes, it's a task, at least at the moment, to get there. But once you're there, it's the best stadium in the country.
Yeah.
For
Uniquely
us.
Birmingham problem of us just making our own problem, like issues.
Yeah. Next one. Under the ONeill era, I had a lucky pair of pants that I believe gave us the edge over opponents. I often got quite anxious when we played 2 games in quick succession. I had to learn how to use the washing machine fast. Said pants were thrown away during the McLeish era. Now, I don't really like this kind of lucky pantsing. I don't really get it. Have you ever had anything like that?
No,
lucky scarf, lucky...
Not a thing, is it?
No.
I mean,
God,
lucky
I've never
scarf,
had that
but
either.
like... That's something you like convince yourself.
I kind of think I think what I wore to the playoff final that we won,
Yeah.
I think I wore the same thing to the first game of the Premier
It's like
League.
it's a comfort thing, isn't it? More so than like their
Like,
superstitions.
I'm not thinking like, oh, me wearing this jumper means we're going to win today. It's like the last time I was here and we won, I wore this, so I'll try it again kind
Yeah,
of
it's
thing.
your fifth. It's your ritual.
Lucky pants is weird, I think.
Yeah, I think you didn't need to do that, innit?
Well, yeah,
You didn't need
exactly. And also, like...
You were wearing other clothes at the time.
Yeah, like I'm
surely.
outwardly wearing the same shirt that I was in pictures of where we last won a game. No one knows what pants I was wearing anyway.
Sounds like
so
an excuse, did it?
No one's got like a lucky BMI or anything, have they? Or lucky pair of shoes.
There actually was another one quickly about superstitions and clothes, as you mentioned shoes. I have many superstitions when it comes to football, like deciding which top to wear. My main one has to be that I wear new trainers to watch when Villa win. So for the playoff final against Fulham, I bought new trainers, but something on my gut was saying don't wear them. I wore the new trainers, and we know what happened next. Fast forward 12 months on, the playoff final again, and just by chance I had some new trainers. Did I wear them? No. I stuck with my trainers that I'd worn every game in the 10-game winning streak, and we won. I still feel like the cursed new trainers is why we lost to Fulham. It wasn't that, mate.
I really like the fact that
the
Steve
trainers.
Bruce is there. Like, we got to throw this one, lads. He ain't bought the Air Force ones.
New trainers for every win, was that?
If I wear new trainers to watch Villa, we usually win. So they must keep that same pair of trainers till Villa lose again,
yeah.
I guess. A new pair of trainers every time we win is excessive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Think of the
John does the
environment.
same every time there's a new transfer.
That reminds me of John Terry when he wears new boots, or used to wear new boots for every single game he played.
Yeah.
That's such a waste.
I mean, he has the money. This is just
I think this is kind of like a superstition thing. I get it. If you're a player like Grealish wearing the same boots in the 10-game winning run, like you think, oh, we've won, I scored a goal, like I'm wearing the same ones.
You
Like,
don't
I
want to
get
change those.
But those people can influence it. As a fan, we can't do anything.
So if we won a lot, what about over the festive period? It'd be in shoe every day.
Other shoe outlets are available. Yeah, mad.
I get it. Yeah, I get it for a player because you don't. If you're feeling good,
Yeah.
you don't want to change like the things you're eating.
Yeah,
you
I
don't want to
get
change
that.
anything.
As a supporter, it means what we do, so get over it. Leon Bailey isn't a bad player. He's just rarely been played in a position or a system that suits him, and if/when we sell him, he'll be one of those players who flourishes and makes us look bad. For example, Amarvi, Veretout, Garner Gay from the relegation season. Now, I've said similar before on the podcast, I think, that I could see him doing well elsewhere in a different league,
It
possibly.
would have to be in the Premier League though for me.
I don't think he'd do it in the Premier League. Is the point? I think if he went to La Liga and played very well, we go, oh, what if like we could have had that, but
But he's done that in the Bundesliga, so
it just doesn't
we have
translate. I don't think
we have that player.
I think it's fine. It's just. When's the last Villa winger that you went? Oh, he's cracking. He's every week. He's
Ashley
smashing.
Young, probably.
Exactly. It's like it's a
Going back
winger
12,
thing.
13
It's like
years, yeah.
I am certain if you went to every club, put in the name of their winger or one of their starting wingers, same things are said. Not to different degrees, of course, because there's different levels of performance. Not saying like Liverpool's wide forwards, you Mohamed Salah's getting the same criticism as him. Chances are you go on Twitter, you search Mbappe, I bet there's people ripping him. Like, people calling Cristiano Ronaldo a free kick merchant. That's bizarre, mate. absolutely bizarre. It's a winger thing though. People said the same stuff. People would say the same stuff about every winger we had. Balassi, El Ghazi, Trezeguet, anyone who's been at Villa wing last 10 years. Wayne Routledge.
Wow. Yeah, it's consistent. I like Bailey, and he does get a lot of flack from supporters. And again, I think it's what James says. It's just the consistency, and you know, he'll play well for 2 games and won't play particularly well for 5. And it's just how many games does he go missing as such? As long as it's not many, then he'll have an okay season, and that's
It's
what
like you have a position where it's like, it's not like a fullback, is it? Because the winger does track back, but the fullback is everywhere today. But you have a position that's literally that much of the pitch, and they have to beat what is usually considered now the best position. Yeah. And like, if you don't, then it's not like you're a striker. You can do a little bit of a hold up and go, "Oh, I've done my job there." Like, you have to beat your man, and if you can't, you're having a bad day. And it's so binary.
Yeah, and plus he's playing in a role where he isn't a out-and-out winger anyway. He's playing more central, and don't get me wrong, when we go forward, Morani goes left, Bailey goes right, and he's tucks around a bit. But yeah, if Emery likes him, then I think that's another sort of kind of proving that point that we're trying to make of. I think he just gets a bit. It's easy to criticise Bailey when Villa haven't played well potentially. He isn't a world beater, but I don't. Again, for how much was he? 25 to 30 million. These days, that is that's the price you pay for a good winger.
Okay, let's move on. I mean, these are anonymous, but this one's from you, James, I think. I actually quite like Tim Sherwood as Aston Villa manager, and wouldn't have sacked him in 2015. We were still going down regardless, let's be honest.
You know, the reason I like Tim Sherwood is A, irony. It's funny. It's just funny. And B,
it's mad that he's not managed since then.
B, because he came in and it was just like, it was like just like the Man City thing we said in the crash, just like straight vertical, like never seen anything like it.
Gerrard's thing, in a certain extent, like, you kind of had this aura about him.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
like the kind of banter of like putting the fans
funny,
things, the G-Lo.
It's exactly what we needed at that point, because he was so down in the dumps after losing 2-0 to Hull, I think it was.
Such a contrast to Lambert as a person as well, like in interviews and stuff. Sherwood, but as a football manager,
his first interview, he kept saying like, "Oh, we just want to win games. We just got to win 3 points the weekend." And it was
just
like,
want 3 points,
to be fair, it's not wrong, because he had to just make it as simple as possible. Bakuna crossed the ball to Benteke, score some goals, and that's what we did, and we stayed up. And it was never going to be a long-term plan.
He absolutely should have been sacked when he'd. It's just a path. It's not whether Sherwood wasn't the problem at that time. The whole thing was dead. But he didn't do himself any favours in the. No, he was clearly crying after we got beat to Leicester.
Yeah,
you know, he was
never felt worse in his life.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like the stuff he was doing. He just
no one in that dressing room feels as bad as I do right now.
He had passion about him, though.
That's the moment a manager gets found out, isn't it? When they're just like, what? It's like when you delete your tactic in Football Manager through the match because you're getting beat 5-0. You're like, put a 4-4-2 up. I've got it. It's a 7-1 in the end.
When I was younger, I was on the train with my dad and asked, "Dad, is that Villa Park?" His face dropped. It was St Andrews. Needless to say, he's never let me live it down, and even mentioned it in his Father of the Bride speech. Now, that's just funny. The reason I put this in here was I was going to ask you two whether you've had a moment like that in your childhood where you mixed clubs up or anything. Do you want to explain?
My one is precisely the same from my old great nan. She lived, I think it was either Rocky Lane or something, in deep in Perry Bar by Dorrington. I think it's Dorrington School, and you could see it was on a hill, and you could see like this blue and white building. I was like, "Dad, that's St Andrews, isn't it?" He's like, "No, that's One Stop."
Right, where are we next? Forgive me, Claret and Blue, for I have sinned.
Oh dear.
During the dark days of Steven Gerrard, I would often place a bet against Villa.
It's fine.
I know this is wrong. Oh, he said it's fine. I know this is wrong, but it just seemed too good of an opportunity to pass up. Since the dawn of Unai Emery, I've made it my pledge to always add a Villa win into my bet builders as a sign of remorse. I'm not sure that's enough since I actually kept on winning. Forgive me for my sins.
We used to lose quite a few games under Gerrard, and we're winning quite a few under Emery. I think it's quite sensible.
When the fun stops, stop.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
You can't make if you're putting money on the line. And I mean, sometimes it's only £1 or whatever. But if you are putting money on the line, you've got to be rational. You can't just go, "Oh, I love the Villa. They're going to win." No, they're not.
But then they have done that under Emery as like to make up for the Gerrard era.
Yeah,
but
that's
they've not
fine.
like been able to have any remorse
Don't
about it
chase
because Emery
those
has
losses
kept
that you've
winning.
had on Gerrard.
Yeah, so I think just
Be careful, please.
I just don't bet on Villa. I don't touch that
anymore. Right, let's move on. At the start of Graham Taylor's first season in charge, 1987, they've put in brackets, so well before all of us, Villa were poor. Then, before one game, in a rush and hungry, I grabbed the first thing in the shop, a pack of Farley's Rusks. These were Farley's Rusks. They're like baby food basically. It's like a Weetabix almost. Eating them in the Holt End, our fortunes changed that day. I ended up having to buy them as a ritual for several weeks after. I was 18.
You know what? Yeah, have you ever had a rusk?
I've not had them, but my parents say they're actually quite nice.
Yeah, they are tasty fellas. So
yeah, it's full of like vitamins and stuff. It's supposed to be like a healthy snack kind of thing. I think it's a little bit outdated. Now, I've got a 5-month-old, and then we've not thought about, we need to buy him rusks.
What is it?
So I think it's an old...
It's like a scone.
It's like a biscuity Weetabix thing, I thought.
Weetabix, okay.
Yeah, that's how I pictured it.
It's a biscuit.
I'll put a picture for the podcast viewers of what it is. Maybe we'll Google it in the break or whatever. But yeah, it's supposed to be like a nutritional kind of biscuity thing that you give to kids.
Got like a fortune cookie kind of taste almost.
That's good then.
Probably alright, to be fair. And if it, again, to go back to superstitions...
you wouldn't just scran them out.
Oh, this geezer was all over him, mate. Absolutely all over him.
At half time, everyone gets the snacks out.
How big is your baby? How many babies do you have?
That you've got spare rusks in your pocket.
Yeah, how have I not seen this joint?
Yeah, I love these kind of like superstition things though. Like it doesn't. People like, I walk to the stadium, I have to go a certain way under this bridge or past that lamppost. Do you?
I'm not superstitious enough to walk under this certain thing, but if I was to deviate from what I would do on a match day, i.e. go with my dad and my brother, park up and walk there, if I went from the other way or something, I wouldn't feel like, oh, this is weird.
It's a routine. It's like you've got it mapped like a little ant.
How's that going to work now that you're not going with your dad and your brother? Are we going to start losing games because of you?
Possibly, and that's going to be... Sorry, guys. But yeah, no, I did that a couple of times over the last few years, and I'd turn up like 5 minutes before kick-off. And I like to be in there quite early. And I'd be like, this is just really weird.
Yeah.
Like,
I get that.
You don't feel like you're actually there watching it. You feel like it's not actually happening yet.
You are correct. I don't know if it's like a ritual thing. It's just
a routine.
Your routine's been thrown out of you. Like, I'm usually here.
Like, I suppose, like, say if you went to school and you rocked up 5 minutes before like the class started and you felt like, exactly.
It's not normal. And especially on a match day, you want it to all be the same. Don't like change.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I get it. No, that's fine.
Let's go with another one. Short one here. I think we can fly past it pretty quickly. I didn't think Steve Bruce was that bad.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always
have.
Yeah, I
it's
always
not that, yeah.
I don't think he was. He gets a lot of vegetables.
Out of all the managers who had a vegetable chucked at him, Steve Bruce is probably the least.
I just think he just gets battered for like not no reason. Don't get me wrong, it weren't great, but ultimately he was within 90 minutes of getting us promoted when there was better teams in us than that division, i.e. Fulham.
Yeah, I see all that. Absolutely, I do.
And don't get me wrong, it didn't go well after that, but he steadied a ship that was sinking quite rapidly, really. Under Di Matteo, that was the lowest I've ever known Villa, and I didn't think there was much way back, really. And then all of a sudden, we started to keep clean sheets and defending well. I remember reading a live blog on the Birmingham Mail, presumably it was from Greg, and it was Villa looking quite solid. And I thought, oh wow, we're quite solid against Bristol City, Dad.
Changed the kind of culture of the dressing room as well, which I think he probably didn't get credit for.
I feel like that is, it's what we needed at that point.
Yeah, I get
and
that.
For me, it was a job. Yeah, he didn't get promoted, but it was a job well done under the circumstances. And we went from there. I just think the abuse that he got was a bit too much.
Yeah, the abuse absolutely.
Of course,
is not right,
it always is too much. But and not to get too deep, I think he lost both his parents at that time as well. That sort of stuff, and he was still cracking on with the job. And
there were a lot of great stories at the time. I think like you were like reading it, and it's like, yeah, Villa. You know, some Villa fans are the lines are coming out. You know, the protection there, but like. Steve Bruce was like the first manager you feel, the Villa squad run through a brick wall for him.
Yeah.
And like he weren't great and he weren't that good, but he wasn't actively bad.
Yeah. I would take bad football and clean sheets and whatever to get through. Yeah. We smacked Wolves 4-1, we beat Bristol 5-0. Don't get me wrong, some games weren't great, but from where we were to where we got to eventually, and you could say, well, we had the players to do it. Well, we didn't have the manager, and Bruce did his job up to a point. It wasn't a car crash, and you'd have thought it would have been, if you said everything that happened to Bruce and the stick that he got, well, what happened, you'd have thought we would have probably finished 12th or something, or not competed at all.
Been relegated.
Yeah,
or not even progressed after Di Matteo, but we did.
I mean, we talk a lot about how good Jack Grealish got, but for a while it was like, you know, put Andre Green on, mate. What are you doing? But under Bruce, you started seeing. I think he gave Jack Grealish that little.
Yeah. Maybe we
I think
were
you're right. I think that was the first time where we started to see Jack Grealish as a player who was like, he's really got a bit. Because under Sherwood, you saw flashes, and it was like a youthful, exuberant sort of thing.
But there's 3 managers in a row who not in a row. There's a bit of in between, but your Sherwood, your Bruce, your Smith, 3 managers in a row who really
they all
helped him develop.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Right, let's move on to another manager, Martin O'Neill. I can't forgive Martin O'Neill for leaving days before the start of the season. I watch all the Claret and Blue podcasts, but could not watch the interview with him. Well, please go back and watch that, because we need all the views we can get these days with the way social media is going. I understand this one. It's totally that people can't forgive how O'Neill left the club and his kind of justification for it. But in that interview we did, if you had watched it, you'd have known. He says he regrets it. He says he wishes he hadn't acted in the way he was and was maybe a bit more mature about it and not kind of throwing his toys out the pram when he didn't get his own way. But I can understand that people kind of have a distaste for that era because of the way he left.
Matt, after did the interview with Martin O'Neill, said that it was like therapeutic and closure for that sort of period of Villa's history. So I think definitely worth watching back. But Martin O'Neill can't really begrudge fans for not forgiving him either.
Well, yeah.
So I think you're well within your rights to not forgive how he left.
I think that confession's fine. It cuts 2 ways, though, doesn't it? Like, if Martin O'Neill didn't fancy the job anymore, he'd have actually hampered us.
Well, yeah.
And I mean, leaving before the start of the season's crap. But if you woke up one day and went, you know what, don't want to do this anymore. Got to go.
I mean, a manager could leave 4 days before a game in the middle of a season, and that's pretty bad as well. So good time to leave, really.
Sherwood got sacked after, like, minutes after it goes.
I suppose from O'Neill's point of view, if he knew he wasn't in for it, he could have left earlier than he did. But
then maybe he was like trying to see if he could.
Yeah, trying to rekindle a relationship, and
see if the spark was still there.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to another manager. These are all in a random order, but I'm trying to keep them together. Unai Emery is the 2nd best manager in the league after Pep Guardiola.
Oh, wow.
That's a big.
That's great.
That's a big shout, and we love Aston Villa, and we're always going to champion ours to be the best ever. 2nd best is too high for me. Putting them into an order, Guardiola's at the top for what he's done. Klopp has been up there for recent seasons. Arteta has done well at Arsenal. Emery 4th then.
Emery. You have a lot of.
Yeah.
I think I put Emery. Maybe I'm being stupid, but I put Emery above Arteta at the moment.
Yeah.
I think Arteta's done a good job at Arsenal, of course he has, but I'm just... It's
Emery's
also difficult because who would you rather have at
got.
Villa, Emery or Arteta? Emery.
Well, yeah.
Who would you rather have at Villa, Emery or, don't know, someone else?
Emery still.
Don't know. But it's one of those, like, different managers for different jobs.
Short one here, I'm pretty sure we can get through very quickly. Douglas Luiz is average at best.
Wrong.
Rubbish, innit? That is bad.
Yeah,
that's shocking.
I mean, we asked for these back in March and April, and it took us ages to get this video done, but that opinion wouldn't have been correct back then. Like, Douglas Luiz has been very good all season, so obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, and this one is anonymous, but I can't get on board with that at all. Douglas Luiz is one of our best players.
That is player of the year, player of the year, I think, as well. So
I mean, this is not that. Maybe started in 2020. You know, and even then he was showing some.
There was because there used to be a debate, wasn't it? It was like, is Luiz actually good, or what does he bring to the team? What position does he play? And throughout that whole time, he wasn't actually playing in the right position. So I've said, like, for the last 3 years, he's played different roles, and they've all made him a better player. And now he's playing his best football, and that's a sort of a direct influence of what's come before. And now he's working with Emery, so. Yeah, I've said he's probably Aston Villa's best footballer in terms of his technical ability and everything else. His intelligence with it as well, I think, it's improved a lot. Even
then, you go back to that Brighton League Cup match a few years ago when he did that like complete beach soccer pass, and it's like the stuff that goes through his mind, the overhead kick pass. You know, he might not be the best players, but the best like technician. The best guy with the football. The best footballer.
There's a reason why Arsenal wanted to sign him.
Well, yeah.
3 bids. Arteta wanted him before
Jorginho, one of the best managers in the league, as we've discussed.
Yeah, I think Newcastle are interested as well. Man City bought him, put a buyback clause and obviously didn't activate it. But yeah, we're really, really solid player there, and with years on his contract to come. So that's £50 million player, I'd say.
Yeah, comfortably. There's 2 here that are of similar nature, so I'll condense them into one. Villa haven't been real contenders for 30 plus years. We won the European Cup 40 odd years ago. Is it time to accept we're not as big as we think?
We've got a massive stadium and loads of fans. We sell out. We've got a 30k waiting list, isn't it?
Contenders for winning the Champions League, does that mean, or just being
for
relevant?
anything. I mean, we haven't won a trophy for 27 odd years.
Yeah, I get that, but
I always think, like, what's the point in winning stuff if it then means nothing in 20 years? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, history is there for a reason. That it means that you've got, I don't know how to put it, but what's the point in Man City winning all these trophies now if it means nothing in 30 years? Well, maybe not Man City because there's different reasons, but other clubs just, you know,
trophies
it's
is
still
what
relevant.
What you play the game for, and like, I kind of agree to a certain extent that we can't keep looking backwards all the time and saying, right, we won the European Cup 40 years ago, so we're an elite club.
That's what establishes you as a big club,
course,
and
small,
that gives you a
clubs
fan
don't
base.
win the European Cup, but there has got to be a time where you go, well, what do we do? Like, if we'd have been in the Championship since 2015 for 7-8 years,
we haven't been a great team for many years, or now maybe we are, but over the course of the last 20 years we haven't had many good teams. But you'll always be a great club, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's, you know, not to bring this on Leeds United, but they haven't been in the Premier League for so long, but they're still going to keep a support base.
Forest as well.
You're always going to get it, and I always think clubs like Villa, as we said in a different video, there's not many clubs who could go that close to, you know, how bad the finances and everything was at that point when Gia sold the club. There aren't many clubs that can just bounce back quite.
Yeah, that should be physically impossible.
Yeah. And then get promoted, drop down with some of the lowest points, or one of the lowest points total in the Premier League, and then come back 3 years later and have everything that came with it. There's not many clubs that can do that, and I think because of what Villa is and the potential that it has. So no, we're not, in terms of revenues and in terms of a big six commercially, we're not there, and that's why Chris X come in to try and evolve that side of things. But you'll always have that
pedigree.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's perfect. I think probably is a problem with some fans maybe getting annoyed with other fans that, you know, the only thing that ever happened was Paul McGrath, Tony Daly, even going further back, 82, even going further back. The FA Cup win in 57, if anyone is still around.
That demographic shows no one of that age is watching this.
But
sadly,
there's probably a bias with that, history bias, and that probably just get on some fans' wick because it's like, I want to talk about now. What is there to talk about now? But the reason I think Villa are a big club is the catchment area is massive. Birmingham, the metropolitan area of Birmingham is massive.
What makes Newcastle a big club? They haven't won much at all, really,
you're
how many years of history?
But we don't have the name, but we are.
Okay.
There's lots of things that makes you a big club, and right now are Villa the best team in the world? No, they're not. But they're still a massive club in English football. They're made the football league.
Is Birmingham the best city in the world? Maybe not, but but it's up there.
Right.
So on Villa.
Let's move on to one here that is insane. When I first read this, I thought, I mean, with these kind of things, it could be made up, of course. We take that with a pinch of salt, but if this is true, it's unbelievable. The year that we were relegated in 2016, we were rubbish, and I'd had enough. I was watching Match of the Day when our highlight was a corner for us that got passed back to our keeper, and at that point I was fed up of being a Villa fan. I became an Albion fan, like my mum's side, and was a Hal Robson-Kanu enthusiast, especially after Euro 2016. I since came to my senses, but I still remember announcing it to all that I knew. Now, like I said, take that with a pinch of salt. If it is real, I imagine this is a kid.
They're still a Villa fan.
And maybe kind of were flopping and changing because the family supported somebody else and they really liked a certain player. Maybe they're Welsh. They're a Villa fan now. They were a Villa fan. They were sick of it. They switched to Albion because their family were. They loved Hal Robson-Kanu for whatever reason, and then they realised that was silly and then came back to Villa. Is that allowed?
I don't know.
I think.
Yeah, I think that is quite a unique situation. I think
if this is a little kid who's got Welsh connections and loved that player and they're Albion family members, you kind of go, oh, I kind of get that. If this is like a 30-year-old man just flip-flopping, that's not allowed.
Does it say how old?
It doesn't say, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a 4-year-old, right?
Exactly.
But I remember going to PE and the first shirt I picked out, they had all the spare change, and it was like Chelsea shirt, and I was like, that's all right, isn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah, I didn't know about football. I was like, I just like Chelsea. And I was like, didn't know what they were. Maybe that's the same thing. I was very young. I was like 5. But
there's another one here in similar kind of getting into supporting. I've always claimed to be a Villa fan from around the age of 8, although I did not care about football in the slightest until the age of 15. And kind of resonate with that a little bit. I got into it a little bit
late,
later, not quite that late, but 10 or 11 until I started really
I got
caring
into so
about
late.
it.
I was wearing Chelsea shirts and thinking that was all right.
The only reason that changed was that I had a Villa fan mate that challenged me to name 5 players at the time, and I couldn't. So I went away and spent weeks researching everything Villa, ready to prove him wrong next, and by doing so, became a fanatical fan.
That's fandom, isn't it?
That's a good story, that is.
That is
I like
being
that.
a fan. That is
Like, imagine you're in
proper
school
good.
and someone says, "Oh, you support Villa, who plays for them?" and you can't think of anyone. Like, that would terrify me, like not being able to commit to a few names. So going away and researching, spending the time to be invested, has led them to be a Villa supporter all these years later. That's nice.
Yeah, it's class.
There's a lot of people like gatekeeping and stuff, and like, you're not a Villa fan unless you've done this. You're a Villa fan if you say you are, and that
You're not
guy
a Villa fan if
said
you
he
don't come
was.
from the area.
Yeah, you're not a Villa fan if you supported Hal Robson Connor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not allowed specifically.
That's really funny, actually. That one.
I suppose that one, if Hal Robson Connor was playing for, I don't know, Wrexham in the final years of his career, so it'd be Wrexham fan, I presume.
I don't know.
I don't
mate.
think he was going to West Brom because of.
Whoever wrote that, if you want to follow up and make yourself become
Yeah, I'd like to
not
get you on.
anonymous.
Dan wants the interview.
Yeah,
That'd
explain
be
yourself.
fascinating.
Explain yourself. Oh, this one is unbelievable as well. Oh, honestly, I can't get my head around this. I watch all of our matches on a self-imposed 5-minute delay and keep it on Twitter in real time for what's to come. Can't say I know why, but I just do.
I don't think that's a problem, Bollis. So I don't think that's a problem. I just
Or
think,
madam. Could be a woman.
Yeah, so I've made that gender neutral.
Oh,
I
all
said
right.
that to anyone.
Fine.
I don't think that is a them problem. I think that is a football problem of having just to consume football and be there when it happens. Like, because it's going to happen first on Twitter. Like, you're going, if you are dodgy streaming, you are behind. So.
But are they doing this? Are they choosing Villa on Sky Sports?
Yeah, if they're on Sky, it's live.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
And they've paused it at the start.
Yeah. So they'll watch a game at, if it kicks off at 4:30, they watch it at 4:35. They keep an eye on Twitter for goal, Ollie Watkins, and then 5 minutes later they watch it on TV.
Are they doing it to be involved there and then with the goal as
on
it happens?
social media?
Yeah, because then it's like, if you're watching it on your own, maybe it's to be in that community there and then and go, yes, first reply. We got to see go on Villa's when next time Villa play the game. Got to go on their
Whoever
account.
Tweets first,
Who's replied
person.
fastest?
Yeah.
It's you.
Some of the work I do for social on a match day is that I'm doing stuff and I'm watching the game on my laptop and I'm working, and I will have to write tweets and post and stuff as it comes through, and then I'll see it a couple of minutes later, and I hate it. I wouldn't do it by choice. It's only because it's the work.
If you're choosing to be behind, I can't understand that. 'Cause
strange.
the whole point.
Yeah.
Imagine that Traore goal at Leicester or whatever. I don't know.
And you've seen all the notifications and then you watch it. The moment's gone, isn't it?
You get no
To
buzz.
be fair, there is a funny thing with that, in that sometimes it's like people don't even say goal, like, oh my word, what has just happened? And you're like, oh,
just let us.
peel me away from this screen for 5 seconds right now. And then you see it and you're like, yeah, you were right.
Let's move on. There's a long one, which I'm going to save till the end because it's a nice one. There's 2 here, very quick. I once got Salifu printed on my shirt.
Okay, cool.
Fair enough, really, isn't it? That's it, yeah. That's the confession.
What's your...
Well done.
I mean, yeah. It turned out
Who's the strangest player you've had on the back of your shirt then?
this is what I was going to
That's
ask
the
you
only-
too. I don't really get player names on my shirts.
When you were a kid or not even back then?
I think I had a Bonlahor once.
Bonlahor is expensive.
I think
Well,
it's,
yeah,
honestly,
you
I
used to have
think
to pay per
it's
letter
like,
back in the day, yeah.
there is like an element of like, that sounds cool. To
Yeah,
it. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost like getting...
I mean, there can't be many Aston Villa Salifu shirts at all.
No,
So
I think that is
probably
pretty
worth a bit.
pretty cool.
My brother, we would have been 7 or 8 years old, so we would have no idea who Villa are signing really. And he got Carlos Cuellar, 24.
That's not bad.
No, but it's so random.
Yeah.
A 7-year-old doesn't know
Yeah,
Cuellar. That was bizarre. And
No,
I've never seen him play. Doesn't know what he looked like.
No, he was just looking at the
Like
names, you know, and they've got like in the club shop, and it's like that
Yeah,
one.
on the poster.
That's a good way. I think that's a good way to get involved with football.
Well, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's what's a cooler sounding name. Hopefully, he's good.
Yeah. Salifu.
Salifu, yeah,
What a
right up.
throwback. All right, final one before penultimate one. I kind of agree with this actually. I'm just reading it quickly. Jack Grealish progressed us rather than regressed us. 100 million in the bank, and our style of play switched from being dependent on him to a team style. Now, losing Grealish was gutting, even though we all kind of knew it was going to come. When it actually happened, and seeing him sat there on that big brown chair in the Man City kit, it was like, oh, this feels grim. I don't like it. But
I didn't when they played like the Community Shield game, I went out on my bike. I couldn't watch him for weeks.
You say that like you went out on your bike like you were a child at the time, even though it was only like 2 years ago. I think I went out on my bike because we actually went around the block
So I had to
on
get
my
out of the
bike.
house. I couldn't see it for weeks. Him in a Man City
Yeah,
shirt.
just it felt wrong to
get
see
over
all that.
People
But
need to find their closure with it, don't they? Like with other,
yeah, like
everything
in
in life,
does it?
like
Football, eh?
him leaving was crap, but the circumstances were all right. You know?
Loads of
that was the
money.
best possible thing for Villa if he was going to go and at least win a lot of things.
Like imagine he leaves on a free transfer and we sign nobody and we finish 17th.
Like it's just completely unrealistic. But imagine if he just left and it was like free transfer to Chelsea. And he was on the bench all week, 1-0. You'd feel way different. You'd be like, you know, it would be a way different feeling too. And I guess it is annoying to see him winning all this stuff and all the things. You know, everything he says gets like kind of picked apart. Like I love playing for this club, and I'm like, you know, some jobs you love, innit? Like. Doesn't mean you hate your family.
It's one of those things. The overarching point that we're in a better position now, and Jack Grealish playing in this team, that's exciting. I can imagine what that would have been like. But him leaving, like our sliding doors video, whenever that came out, him leaving means that we're now in this position. And if he'd have stayed,
To an extent,
we wouldn't be here.
Mate, yeah, I think so. The 100 million that we banked from him, we then spent on free players.
Less said about that.
You make your mind up, but I don't know if we'd have been would we have Unai Emery and Jack Grealish in the same
universe.
All happens for a reason.
I don't think you can have both. If you could, then great, but I don't think one happens well either. So Grealish going and Emery coming in, if you play like that, I think is
that's a fair trade.
That amicable.
We got there eventually, sort of thing. But
it was always going to happen that season. I think we deluded ourselves into thinking, no, he's at training, so he's not going. He's in the kit launch, so he's not going.
Crazy, wasn't it? Fans from, I remember saying to my friends, like, I think it's staying. He's just gone out to training, and they're like, "Nah, you're brainwashed."
Yeah, we were. That is genuine.
Not,
that must be a genuine brainwash because we were. Myself. Like,
do you remember the guy who went to like the hotel or wherever they were, and he was like filming videos of him like
we
walking
were all
around,
like
we were like buzzing off this guy's Twitter account.
But we look back and obviously he was not. Like, why did we think that? Like, just because he's in a photo with a kid, it's like, he's definitely staying.
I think some of it is genuinely because of what he.
That's football fandom, though. Like being.
I honestly think it's because what he said the year before. I know we go on about it, but he did kind of make it out as if he was staying here for years and gonna.
Yeah.
He did say it. So I think that's what probably fans were clinging on to a bit too much. And when he left, it was like, but you said that.
Yeah.
There is a very literal thing in football. Like when Tammy Abraham tapped the badge. You know, the Villa badge is like, bro, he's a lone player.
He loves the Villa, bring him home. He's got no connection to us whatsoever.
He loves playing for the Villa. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, let's move on then. This is the final one, I believe, of the list that I had. I said we had 25 at the start. I don't know if I've done 25 because we've filmed this over 2 parts. We had absolutely loads though, so if you want to get involved with a part 2, let us know. This is a nice story to end on. It's quite long, so forgive me for just staring and reading. I live in the USA, and several years ago I was struggling with an addiction. I signed up for an online forum to find an accountability partner to help motivate me. I became close friends with a guy from Birmingham and we started talking daily. I've always enjoyed soccer, football, but had never followed a Premier League team. He got me interested in Villa and we've talked about it, amongst other things, a lot. I started following the club the first year back in the Premier League and I've never looked back. Watching Aston Villa play and talking about, reading about and listening to podcasts about the club has been an integral part of my recovery. Having something else to focus on when facing temptations is enormously helpful. It may sound strange but true, but Aston Villa has played a large part in turning around my life, saving my family and my marriage. I've yet to meet another Villa fan that lives in my area, but I'd hoped to be able to travel back east to see Villa play in person for the first time this summer. However, in no small part through your podcast, I already feel a part of a community, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you and let you know how much your podcast means to me personally.
Oh, that's nice.
And when I saw that and copied it into my document, I only read the first half, so I don't want this to appear like I've only picked it because he said he loves the podcast. Yeah. It's not that.
Yeah,
that's a lovely story, isn't it? When I ask like anonymous confessions and it's about people biting their fingernails and what superstitions they've got, I didn't expect to see anything like that in there. So yeah, really nice, and I'm glad that you've managed to overcome those
it's a privilege for us as well to be. We get emails and messages from people across the world. Like when Ash went to Australia, lots of people were saying about podcasts. It's not just our podcast. There's loads of the podcasts that Villa fans do, that are all really good. So our little community, if we can help that out, then brilliant. That's what we do it for. And he's right, it's an escape, isn't it, football? Like, I think we'd all be lost somehow, and we all have our own, but football is that escape that everyone needs. It's a daily thing, 24/7, and couldn't really be without it. So yeah, if we could play our part, then brilliant.
Yeah, that's lovely. That is, isn't it? Turning that like thing into that beast into like a positive. I thought it's a bit about Villa. Villa are much more positive. But still, amazing.
As flippant to just brush off whatever this addiction was to now being addicted to Aston Villa, but like to have that kind of flip to like obsess over something else, and if that's helped kind of save your life and save your family life, that's a brilliant thing and a lovely place to end this podcast on. As I mentioned a couple of times, if you want to see a part 2 from this, there was absolutely loads, and we'll set up the link again for people to send new confessions in now they know kind of what the format was. If you thought it was rubbish, we won't do it again, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. James, thanks for joining us. John, likewise. Thank you for watching this podcast. Get involved in the comments. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your content from. Thank you very much for watching this one, and we'll see you again very soon.